So
Yeah.
we're gonna start right away. Today we're gonna do chapter number 6. And I'm gonna start with a little story. I'm not gonna share the whole story, I'm just gonna start it. So basically there was this person that was living in the world of lies, living a regular life. And once he realized that, that there's some truth, he was really attracted by it. He found the Torah and he was really, really attracted. And he decided that he's going to start following the Torah, following the mitzvot, and really go with the flow of it. And he started becoming a Baal Tshuva, you know? And he thought that for sure everything is going to go very smoothly, and he's going to be learning and everything. He's connected to the truth, so of course it's perfect. There's no, he wants to completely disconnect from the lies. Everything is going to be perfect. But as he's becoming more and more about tshuva and doing more mitzvot and doing, you know, a little more, he realizes that reality is different than what he imagined. There's a yetzer hara that's working really hard and that's trying to make him fail and fall backwards and not get there. Like he's like, this yetzer hara is giving him a very hard time. And then he finds himself dealing with challenges at work, challenges with the family, and it was getting very upsetting. He's like, I'm with the truth, but somehow it's not going smoothly. Like there's something that's bothering me all the time. There's different problems along the way. So he went to the rabbi, and he's asking his rabbi, why is there bad inside of me? Why is there bad? Why does Hashem create a world that has bad stuff? Why can't it be just perfect? Why didn't Hashem create us like angels, that we can just do Torah and mitzvot perfectly and not have anything, you know, not have anything bothering us? That's the $1 million question. And we're going to try and find the answer in this class. So until now, what we learned in Tanya so far up until now, it could sound as if we're angels, because we have a godly soul that wants to connect to Hashem. We have it inside of us. Our soul is an actual part of Hashem. We have in our soul 10 traits that come from the powers, the 10 powers of Hashem. We have clothing that can help us serve Hashem. Like we can do mitzvot, click, we connect to Hashem. We can learn Torah, we're connecting to Hashem's wisdom. It sounds ideal. It sounds like so simple and so easy. And it sounds like it can't get any better, like it's perfect. But the problem is that when we look at the reality, it's different. We live in a world that does have bad. It has challenges. There is a yetzer hara that works very hard, and we face a lot of tests. And when we look at ourselves and when we look at the world, we don't see the good of the godly soul. We see a lot of other things, right? So as amazing as it is to know in our mind, like whatever, to learn that there's a godly soul and everything is perfect, the reality is really different. So here we have this big question. Why is the reality different? Why is there bad in the world altogether? Why didn't Hashem create us? Why didn't Hashem create a perfect world and create us like angels and make it so easy for us? Why is it so challenging? Why is it like this? So this is where we're getting into the Tanya now. Until now, we saw one side of the coin. Okay, we learned about the godly soul. And now we're going to look at the other side of the coin. We're going to learn today about the animalistic soul. Okay, we all have two souls. Today the chapter 6 talks about the animal soul. And then we're going to get to the most important part. And like after this chapter, the next, as we're moving along with the Tanya, we're going to learn how to cope with the constant fight inside of us between the two souls. But we need to really get to know our two souls first, and then we'll learn how to, you know, how to make the godly soul win somehow. So in this class, we're gonna first look at what are the two opposites inside of us, and we're gonna see it from the aspect of the 10 powers of the soul, the 10 sfirot, and then we're gonna see it through the mind and the feelings, like the intellect and the feelings, and then we're gonna see it through the 3 garments. Okay, so this 6th chapter of Tanya starts off with a piece of wisdom from Shlomo HaMelech. King Shlomo was the wisest of all men, and he says in Kohelet, a pasuk, he says, "Ze leumat ze asa Elokim." This against this, Hashem made. So there's 2 things over here. On one hand, he says the world is created on a basis of opposites. Everything in the world has this against this. And then he also says Asa Elokim, that this is not by chance that everything has two opposites. It's part of Hashem's original plan. That's the way Hashem created the world. So just to understand, can you give me examples of things in the world that are contradicting, like opposites? Everything has opposites. Just give me a few, just jot a few things out. Battery against what? Like, give me two words that are like
it has a plus and a minus.
Very good. Plus and minus in the battery. Perfect. Yeah.
But you can
Man and a woman.
Exactly. Yes. Man and a woman. Yes. Day and night. Yeah. Seasons. We have winter and we have summer, hot and cold.
We have trees and we have grass.
Okay, they're not really opposite, but we have dry
It's
land.
not opposite.
We have dry land and we have wetland, right?
We have high
Night
and
and
low.
Yeah, high and low. Very good.
Yeah.
day and night.
Day and night, yes.
Yes.
We have life and death.
And yeah.
We have good and bad. We have forbidden and allowed. Okay, we have whatever.
Light and darkness. Like
yes,
day and
light
night.
and dark.
Yeah.
Light and
Yes.
darkness.
Exactly.
Okay, so you got it. That this is just a little bit, but it goes beyond that, because it's not just that there are opposites, but every single thing in the world that's created has an opposite. It says that everything that exists in the water exists also on land. And it also says that everything that's forbidden in the Torah is also, there's also something that's allowed that's like on a similar thing. So everything that Hashem created has an opposite. Everything in the world is created that way.
Jews and Goyim.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So opposites is not just, opposites is not just around us, but imagine that opposites are even inside of our own personality. Inside of our own personality, we can have two sides to ourselves. We have two souls, two opposite souls inside of us. Okay, we're not made of one soul, but we start off with two souls. We start off like with two opposites, two drives, two contradicting, two things pulling us in two different directions inside of us. So let's look at it. So on one hand, we have the one that we know well, that we learned up until now about the godly soul. We have something inside of us that's so pure and holy. It's a part of Hashem. It's an actual piece of Hashem. And with that soul, what is this soul thinking? Hashem is in the center. Everything is around Hashem. This soul pulls us to holy things. Okay, I was created to serve Hashem. Anything around me, it's to serve. Anything around, the whole purpose is to serve Hashem. So when we have that soul, it makes us always ask ourselves, what does Hashem want from me right now? What's my mission in this world? What's the right thing to do? Right? Like that's all the godly soul does. Okay, and this soul also, we learned it in one of the first few chapters. This soul expresses itself in four, like we can feel the godly soul in four different ways. One way we spoke about is transcendence. It's matzpun. I don't know if you remember, we discussed the whole matzpun, that it directs, the godly soul directs us to act morally, to act based on truth. Like we know what's the right thing to do, and we act that way. Like not always we do what we feel like. A lot of times we do what we want to do, what's proper. We want to do what's right. When we do that, that's the godly soul speaking. That's the godly soul expressing itself. The second way the godly soul expresses itself, we learned, is that it has faith, emunah. We have strong emunah inside of us. It's unconditional. That's the essence of our connection to Hashem. That's because like it's inside of us. The fact that we believe in Hashem is because we have a godly soul. Also, we do very often self-sacrifice. The godly soul enables us to give up things, to give up our personal interest in order to do what's right, in order to do what Hashem wants. Sometimes we give up some of our money to give tzedakah. We give up things that we have to give or to do things. We give up our time. We give up different conveniences. Sometimes it's not easy to eat kosher. We give up on stuff in order to do what's right. So that's because we have a godly soul that enables us to do the self-sacrifice. And the fourth way the godly soul expresses itself is that we have moments of elevation, moments of inspiration. Like sometimes we experience moments when we feel like we're more pure, we want to do something special, we want to have like a nicer day like Yom Kippur, we want to There's a day that we feel more like connecting to Hashem. That's another way of the godly soul expressing itself. So just remember that there's 4 ways of the godly soul expressing itself. The reason I'm saying it to you, because we're going to compare everything soon to the animal soul. Okay. But right now, we just went through the godly soul. It's all about Hashem. Hashem is the center. Now, inside of us, I told you, everything that exists in the world has the opposite. So inside of us, we have the exact opposite of the godly soul. And it pulls us exactly in the opposite direction. What is it? It's the animal soul. The animal soul, it's all about I am in the center. It's all about me. Now, the animal soul has a few names that actually describe what it is. One of the names, okay, the first one is Nefesh Behemit. That's the way it's called, animal soul, because it resembles, like it looks like the soul that's in and that it's an animal. It's a lot about survival, okay? It's a lot, but it's like an animal. There's nothing very special about it. There's another name for this Nefesh Behemit. It's called Nefesh Chiyunit. It's in the blood. That's what gives the life force to the body to live. Okay, it's the life force that differentiates between a dead body and a live body. The live body has something. What does it have? It's this life force. It's this Nefesh Behemit. This animal soul makes the body live. And when there's no animal soul, the body doesn't live. It's dead. So that's why it's called also Nefesh Chiyunit. And then it's also called Nefesh Hativit, a natural soul, because this animal soul, from that comes all our natural instincts. The animal soul is all about survival. I need food, I need drink, I need to sleep, I get tired, I need to breathe, I need to enjoy, I need to have pleasure. All that's what the animal soul is. Now, the animal soul, as I said, it's all about me. It's the ego. I am in the center. The person is in the center. It's nothing about Hashem. It's just about me, whatever's good for me. And in the eyes of this animal soul, every step of life is whatever's good for me. Whatever I can gain from it, how I can move forward. It's the exact opposite from the godly soul, because we're not putting ourselves aside, we're putting ourselves front. And it's not at all about Hashem, it's about me. So when we have this, when the animal soul speaks, what does it say? It says, what am I going to gain from this? Should I do it? Only if I can gain something from it. Where am I in the picture? What's the most comfortable? What's the most pleasant thing to do for me right now? Like, it's just about me, okay? Now, just like I told you, there was 4 ways the godly soul expressed himself. We're going to now compare them to the 4 ways the animal soul expresses itself. So the first way, we said that it's about doing what's right, doing what's moral, doing what Hashem wants from us, right? That's what the godly soul is going to do. Like, but the animal soul is going to say, hey, it's about my enjoyment. Who cares what's the right thing to do? What am I going to gain over here? It's about what I feel like doing. Okay, it's not about what's the right thing to do, but it's about what I feel like doing. Now, the godly soul had faith, has emunah, right? But the animal soul is not ready to accept faith as something obvious. Who cares about Hashem? If it's going to interfere with my enjoyments, like, I don't need this. I'm out of this. I'm rebelling. I don't need any belief. I just want to enjoy my life, right? Like, why should I have faith? Why do I need God in my life? I don't need it. I'm perfectly fine without it. That's the animal soul speaking. Now, the animal soul, do you think he's going to sacrifice himself to do something proper? Sacrifice? So the godly soul is going to give up themselves to do something right and something good. But the animal soul will never give up his own interests. Behind every action, there's always a personal interest. It's all about my interests. And the 4th way we said the godly soul expresses himself is that there's moments of inspiration, moments of elevation. Animal soul, who needs those moments? Who needs like a special day? Who needs anything? It's just about my regular life, my regular routine, enjoying things, having my family, having my food, having what I need. That's what matters. So it's just staying into routine versus having an elevation and inspiration. Like, he doesn't need to go anywhere higher. He's good where he is. That's all this animal soul. Now, I do want to differentiate between the animal soul and the Yetzer Hara. Okay, it's very, very different. The godly and animal soul is different than Yetzer Hara and Yetzer Tov. Why? Because Yetzer Tov wants to do something good. Yetzer Tov is about having a positive drive to do something good, to do something right. The Yetzer Hara wants to do bad things. He's pushing us to do something that's not allowed. He's pushing us to eat non-kosher food, to whatever, to do something not right. That's the Yetzer Hara, to do something bad. Now, the Yetzer Hara does not include neutral things like survival. The Yetzer Hara is not telling you eat, sleep, breathe, work. Like that's neutral, right? Neutral things are not Yetzer Hara, not Yetzer Tov. Neutral things are neutral, okay? They're not bad and they're not good. But the animal soul includes everything that's not godly. So if it's not godly soul, it falls into animal soul. If it's not doing something for God, if I'm not in the middle of praying or in the middle of doing a mitzvah, or in the middle of thinking about Hashem, or in the middle of learning Torah, it's my animal soul. Anything that's not godly is animal soul. So animal soul includes all the neutral actions, the neutral things of survival, the animal soul. Okay, I hope that's clear. So we can say that the Yetzer Hara is included in the animal soul because the person puts himself in the center, enjoys things, and that causes the person to do things that are not allowed. Because if I'm in the center, it's all about me. Who cares what Hashem says? So the Yetzer Hara is inside the animal soul, but the animal soul is much more. The animal soul includes everything that's neutral. Okay, I hope that's clear. So we're going to now look at the Tanya that starts off by saying that there's two sides of the coin and there is two souls. Okay. That's the beginning of chapter 6. Let me share 1 second. Okay, so it starts off like this with the pasuk from King Solomon. Ze le'umat ze asa Elokim. The Almighty has created one thing opposite the other. Okay, that's how he starts off this chapter. But everything has two sides. And then he says, just as the divine soul consists of 10 holy faculties which correspond to the 10 supernal sephirot and is clothed in 3 holy garments. Okay, that's all about the divine soul, the godly soul. In the same way, 1 second. Just as the divine soul, oh, sorry, I did that. So too, 1 second, let me go down a little more. So too, the soul of Sitra Achra, defined further in this chapter, derives from Klipat Noga, which is closed in a man's blood. As explained in chapter 1, the animal soul is closed in the blood and thereby animates the body, this soul too. And so this soul consists of 10 crowns of impurity. Okay, so we'll see that just like there's 10 powers of the soul in the godly soul, there's 10 powers in the animal soul, and they're called crowns. Okay, it's called keter in the Kabbalistic term. Okay, so we're going to explain now those 10 crowns in the animal soul. 1 second. Okay. Now, just before we go into those 10 character traits of the animal soul, I just want to share a very cute story about the me in the middle. Like how does it look? What does it look like when there's me in the middle? So there was this man that was serving Hashem on a very high spiritual level. Okay, he was learning Torah, doing mitzvot. He was very, very high spiritual level, but he became arrogant because of it. He was like, look. This is how good I am. I'm like so into God. Anyway, this man realized that something was bothering him. So about this, he went to the Baal Shem Tov for guidance. He knocks on the door. Who is there? The Baal Shem Tov says, "Who's there?" And this man answers, "Me." So the Baal Shem Tov says, "You know what? Because if you say me, that means that you have your own existence. I can't see you." The person behind the door was really, like, his heart was really shaken from it. And then he realized that even with all the Torah that he's learning and all the mitzvah that he's doing, he didn't even start serving Hashem. He realized that the I is disturbing. So he worked a lot on his ego, and he comes back to the Baal Shem Tov. And he knocks on the door, and the Baal Shem Tov asks, "Who is there?" And the man doesn't answer. And then the Baal Shem Tov says, "Okay, now the person nullified the I, now I want to see you." So we need to realize that it's not about just serving Hashem doing mitzvot, but we need to really realize like where's the eye over here, like to make sure to put the eye in the nullification mode, not in the center mode. Okay, so now we have the 10 crown, so it's called crowns for the animal soul, but basically the man we say that the man is created in the image of God. Hashem has 10 sfirot, 10 characters through which he created the whole world, and he emulated it into us and gave us 10 powers of our soul. We have 10 of them, okay? So just like we got to know all the basic opposites between the godly soul and the animal soul, we're going to go now a step further and analyze those 10 powers of the soul and see how they're different in the godly soul and the animal soul, okay? So the same way Hashem created 10 powers of the soul in the godly soul, he also did that in the animal soul. So remember that when we spoke about the 10 powers, we divided them into 2 categories. We had 3 intellectual powers and 7 emotional. The 3 intellectual were Chochma, Bina, Da'at, and the 7 emotional were Chesed, Gvura, Tiferet, Hod, Yesod, Malchut. Netzach, Hod, Yesod, Malchut. So what we're going to do now, what the Tanya does, he's not going to go through each one of the 10, but we're going to take just 3, the first 3 emotional attributes, and we're going to see how they express themselves so differently if they're expressed in the godly soul or if they're expressed by the animal soul. The godly soul, remember, it's all about Hashem. The animal soul, it's all about me, okay? So the first emotional attribute is chesed. So how does chesed going to express himself on the godly soul? If it's all about Hashem and it's all about loving and giving and kindness, where is it going to express all that love? It's love for Hashem. It's real love towards Hashem, real love towards other Jews, real Ahavat Israel, unconditional love. He truly cares for others. He doesn't care about himself. He cares about God, right? So he can really help others. He can really serve Hashem from a place of love. He's always going to see what is best for the other person, what is best to do for the other. And he can even give, for example, he can give tzedakah secretly. He doesn't need to be advertised. He can give it because he knows it's what Hashem wants and he's giving it. He doesn't need like everybody to know. And he can even give, even if it's a sacrifice, even if he doesn't have money and he's giving the last few coins because he doesn't need it. It's not about him. It's only about Hashem, right? That's how the love expresses himself with the godly soul. Now, how is this love and kindness, chesed, going to express himself in the animal soul? So remember, who does he love? He loves himself. The person loves himself only, right? So he's going to do anything to love himself. He's only going to do what's good for him. If he needs to help somebody, it needs to be conditional because he needs to get back something. It's conditional love. Behind every act of kindness or every act of love that he's going to do, there's for sure a personal interest behind it. Like he's going to gain some money, he's going to gain some honor, he's going to gain some connection. There's always going to be a personal gain because the center is me. That's the chesed in the animal soul. You see that? Now we have gvura. Gvura is the second emotional attribute. We spoke about it. It's a severity, being assertive, being firm, being like very strong in that sense. So the godly soul, if he's strict and he's scared and he's like, he's going to have a lot of fear of God, okay? And he's going to make boundaries in order to serve Hashem. That's where he's going to put himself boundaries. That's where he's going to be strict. He's going to be strict with himself for the purpose of serving Hashem. So he's going to create boundaries to educate, like he's going to be educating properly. He's going to be very strict with how he behaves. He's going to make an order. He's going to deal with the issues, with anything that interferes with his serving of God. And he's going to fear Hashem because he only wants to do what Hashem wants. That's gvura in the godly soul. Now in the animal soul, how does gvura express itself? Any ideas?
Anger?
Yes, exactly. Anger, he can even get aggressive because remember, the person loves himself, right? The animal soul. So he's going to hate anything that's done that's bad for him. If anyone bothers him, hey, how are you getting, like, go away from me. He's going to push away anything that's not good for him. He's going to hate people that are not good for him. He's going to hate things that are not good for him. He's even going to put down people that are not good for him. He's not going to care about others. He can be deaf to others. Like, he's not interested in other people. And he can even get angry if something's not good for him, right? That's the gvura by the animal soul, because it's all about me. Now, the third and final emotional attribute that we're going to look at today is Tiferet. Tiferet was the harmony. It was the balance. It's the balance between chesed and gvura, the balance between kindness and severity, beauty, harmony, like it's making things pretty, making things nice, making things better. So what is the godly soul going to do to make things nicer and better if all he wants to do is serve Hashem? He's going to do the mitzvot better. He's going to buy a nicer etrog. He's going to spend more money to buy only matzah shmura, the best matzah shmura on Pesach. He's going to want to do things nicely. If he's going to build a synagogue, he's going to build a pretty synagogue. Like, he's going to beautify the mitzvot, because it's all about making things better. Now, imagine the animal soul now. If it's all about me becoming better, all about me. So I want to become a better person. I want to advance myself. I want to become bigger. I want to become more important. I want to have a better place in this world. It's all about me. So he wants to make an impression on others. He's going to boast everything that he has. He's going to show off what he has. I'm a good person. I'm a big person. I'm big. He needs to travel with a very fancy car. He needs to have fancy furniture. He needs to show off all the good things that he has. If he has money, he needs to show it. Okay, so that's the beautifying of the animal soul. So I hope you got the picture of how these attributes express themselves so oppositely by the godly soul and by the animal soul. And as long as you also understood that the godly soul is all about Hashem and the animal soul is all about me, the I, the ego. Okay. Now, why are we learning this also? It's because when we want to know that every time we behave, we want to know which, like, also each one of us, we know which character traits we're stronger at, but we want the godly side of it to express itself. Because every character trait has the two sides of the coin. So we need to make sure that we're using the proper side of the coin with our talents, with our character traits that we're good at. So, and also when we behave, we want to know what's the source of my behavior. Is it coming from a godly place, or is it coming from an animal, an animalistic place? Okay, and act based on that. Now, there's another thing that we spoke about. There's another thing that, so we have the 3 intellectual powers and we have the 7 emotional powers, right? Which one causes which? Does the emotions bring the thoughts, or do the thoughts bring the emotions? What do you think?
The thoughts are, well, the emotions are faster actually than thoughts. So maybe.
So you say the emotions make you act faster, like.
Well, I think the thought comes first.
The thought comes first.
Are manifest first, I think, and
which one causes the other? Which one causes which?
I think the thought causes the emotions.
Intellectual causes the emotional.
So when we think about something, it causes us to have emotions. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
Would it
think
be that
so.
sometimes our emotion?
I don't think so. I think emotions is something automatic. When the thoughts are something that we create, and they are more important.
But
Yeah, so ideally, we want the thoughts to affect our emotions, but practically,
that's
animal
work.
soul, okay. So
That's
both.
work.
It's a lot of work for the mind to control the emotions, but very often the emotions control the mind. Okay, so it's both ways, right? You agree.
Mm-hmm.
But this is exactly where we're going to see a big difference between the godly soul and the animal soul. So in the godly soul, if it's all about Hashem, if it's all about what Hashem wants, okay, it's all about what's idealistic, values, morals, Okay, it's going to start by what's the right thing to do.
And
So it's gonna-
intellect.
Exactly. The
Yeah.
intellectual, in the godly soul, the intellectual is going to come first, because it's what does Hashem want from me? There's no feelings right now. It's what does Hashem want from me? And then I know what Hashem wants from me. I'm going to do it with happy. I'm going to do it. It's going to generate the positive emotion towards doing it. Right.
Yeah.
Now the animal soul, if it's all about me,
It's all emotions.
exactly. It's my emotions come first. It's like, how do I feel about it? Then I'll decide if I want to do it. Then I don't care if it's the best thing to do. I feel good about it. If I don't feel good, forget it. You know, if it doesn't feel good for me,
Right.
why should I do it? So the emotions are very come first in the animal.
Animal. Yeah.
Okay, so that's very clear. Now, another question I want to ask you: the love and the anger of a small child, okay, and the love and anger of an adult, are they really different by a child and by an adult? Like what the child likes and when the child gets angry? Is
The
it like,
child is by instinct.
okay,
Yeah.
and the
Whereas adults are more with-
intensity of it, is it the same?
The what? The what?
The intensity of an anger of a child or the anger of an adult?
No.
I think it's different.
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 Okay, so it's really different on the scale, but we'll see that in essence, it's the same. Because by both, it's a natural feeling, okay? It's a feeling towards
Right.
whether they enjoy something, whether it's good for them or whether it's bad for them. If you enjoy something, it's good, you're happy. If something is bad for you, it makes you upset, it makes you angry, right?
Right.
Now, when we talk about love, the mind of a child is very small, so he likes toys. He loves toys. He loves playing, right? He likes toys. By an adult, the mind understands more. So, because the mind understands money, and so then we like bigger things. But in essence, it's really the same. It's just that the mind of a child is small and the mind of an adult is big. I'll give you a perfect example to understand this. Imagine a little child that's playing with a boat. He has a little boat that floats in the bathtub, whatever, and the boat breaks. The child's getting very upset and cries. And he's very, very upset. And, you know, the parents tell him, don't cry. It's not a big deal. It's just a toy. But imagine what happens when this adult has a yacht in the ocean that sinks.
And it breaks.
Imagine it breaks or it sinks in the water. How upset will the adult be? As upset as the child. So we tell the parent.
No, but you.
Uh,
No, there is a saying, the difference between men and boys is the price and the size of the toys.
Exactly. Exactly. That's exactly our point.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. So we tell the parent, listen, the child getting upset about his toy boat, let him be upset. Like he did, like that's as big as it is for him, as big as the yacht is for you. So let me now.
But that's why.
Yeah.
No, I just wanted to say that the anger is not the same because the anger is like a snowball, you know, and the older you are, there is more stuff coming up with one feeling of anger.
That's true, because you have, because there's much more things, right, adding up to each other. But in essence, for the child's size of his mind, it's the same as the size of the mind of the adult. Okay. Now another thing I want to do with you, Tanya, is that tell me. I'll give you an exercise, and I'll tell you a story, and you tell me which one in that story came first. Okay, the mind or the emotion. So Reuven, there's a story about Reuven and Shimon, okay? Reuven and Shimon are the two first tribes. That's how we say stories in Judaism. Reuven gets very offended by the behavior of Shimon, and he decides to take revenge, okay? He decides a certain way how he's going to take revenge. He gets advice from a lawyer who tells him a different way to take revenge that's going to be more effective and more successful. And he listens to the lawyer that had a lot of thinking behind it, and he does it. Do you think this is... Which one came first, the mind or the emotions? Is it like an animal soul style or a godly soul style?
I think the emotions came first and then the mind was riding on it.
That's right.
Like,
Yeah, animal.
That's right. Okay, now I'll give you the opposite example. Reuven gets offended by Shimon. He decides to take revenge, but then he shares all this with his friend, and his friend tells him, no, don't take revenge. It's not moral, it's not the right thing to do. You should actually go and make peace with him. And he listens to him, and that's what he does. What works
Yeah.
over here?
Here it's like godly. Yeah,
Or
Right,
godly.
it's the mind. The mind is saying what's the
Yeah.
right thing to do. Okay.
the
So
mind.
yeah. So even though you could think that when you're listening to the lawyer, you're thinking about it, right? But that's not what it is. It's about like, are you acting based on your feelings, or are you acting based on what's moral and Hashem, right? You get it. So let's look now at all this in the Tanya. We're going to see how the Alter Rebbe tells us about the 10 powers of the soul in the animal soul, which are called crowns. And he's going to say he's going to explain each one of the first 3 emotional attributes. Like I told you, what's good for me, that's chesed. Hate what's bad for me, that's gvura. And boast and impress, that's tiferet. You'll see it in the words of the Tanya, all the things that we spoke about, those 3 attributes. And something very interesting I want you to look at is the order of how the Alter Rebbe describes it. You know, there's 3 intellectual and 7 emotional. So by the godly soul, when we learned about it, we explained the 3 intellectual first. But here he's going to tell us about the 7 emotional first.
Emotion.
Because by the animal soul, the emotional is first.
yeah.
And so we're going to see the whole relationship between the mind and the emotions in both. Okay. And so let me share with you the Tanya. 1 second. Okay, so here we have the 10 crowns of impurity. These 10 faculties are, what comes first? 7 evil midot, okay? Sheva midot ra'ot, 7 emotional traits that are bad, okay? Which stem from the 4 evil elements mentioned above. And the intellect, okay, comes second, which gives birth to these 7 evil midot, which is subdivided into 3, like chokhmah bina dat, which is the source of the midot. And then he explains the intellectual faculties are described as the source of the evil midot, for the midot are commensurate with the qualities of one's intellect. And then he tells us about the child. A child desires and loves petty things of little value, for his intellect is too immature and deficient to appreciate more valuable things. Similarly, now he's telling us about the adults. Look at him. 1 second. Yeah. With regards to the before, I just wanted to show you, he was talking to us about chesed. Wait 1 second.
Tiferet.
Okay. Yeah. When a child desires and loves, okay, that we're talking about the midah of chesed. Now it says, with the midah of gvura, when just like the child is not happy when there's something valuable that's a problem. Similarly, with regards to the midah of gvura, he is angered and vexed by trivial things, and likewise with regards to tiferet, boastfulness, and other midot. Okay, so this is where he's explaining those 3 emotional attributes that I told you how they express itself in the animal soul. You see that? Wait, I need to see. Okay, now this is the next part. Okay. Now I just want to give you like an illustration also of how to use the godly soul versus the animal soul in when we act. There's a story about a Rabbi Meir Blazinski. The way he educated his children, he never raised his hands on his kids, never screamed, always calm. But there was a situation where it was really dangerous. The child was like going in a dangerous road, and the father had warned him a few times, but this was really dangerous. And the father got really, really angry, and he really felt like he needed to educate the child. And he really felt that he can't let this pass quietly. and he needs to give him a strong punishment. He felt like giving him like a really big, like hit him really badly. But right before he hit him, he thought, where does this punishment come from? Why do I feel like hitting him? Is it because I want to educate my child properly? Or is it because I need to let out my anger? Right? Is it because of my godly soul, or is it because of my animal soul? So he wanted to know, he knew he had gvura over here. He knew he had the attribute of severity, of being firm. But he needed to know if it's coming from his animal soul, from his ego, or is it coming from his godly soul? Because he's worried about the education of the child. So what would we have done? Or we would burst, or we would hold it in, right? But the father didn't do that. He froze. He actually went to a separate room, closed the door, and he thought about it for a long hour. Is it coming from my godly soul? Is it coming from my animal soul? And he thought, what is the best thing to do for the benefit of my child's education? And at the end, he concluded that he needs to punish him badly for my child's education. And after thinking about it, making sure that it's coming from the godly soul, then he punished his child, because it was really a dangerous situation. So it's important for us to think when we act, where it's coming from, the godly soul, the animal soul. Is it for me, or is it for Hashem, you know? Now, the last part that we're going to look at today is, we spoke about that there's 3 garments, 3 clothing, okay? So the soul has 10 powers, and the soul also has 10, he has 3 ways of expressing itself: thought, speech, and action. Remember that? That was the God, we learned that with the godly soul. So just to remind you, thinking is when we express ourselves with ourselves. We're thinking, so we're listening to our mind, we're listening to our emotions, and we're connecting between the different parts of ourselves, we're connecting the mind and emotions through our thoughts. The second tool of expression is when we talk, speech. Okay, we're expressing our feelings and our intellectual thoughts with others. Okay, we're expressing it. And then when we act, that's when we express ourselves with others and also with the world. We're actualizing our thought process and our emotions. We're doing something with it. Okay, so those are the 3 ways of expressing ourselves. Now, remember, those 3 ways of expressing ourselves are called levushim, clothing, garments. So clothes, just want to remind you, on one hand, they express who the person is, because that's why people invest in clothing, right? But on the other hand, it's not part of who we really are inside. It's not part of the person. Okay, it doesn't for sure express who the person is, because sometimes the person can dress up, he can also change his clothing, he can remove his clothing. It's not exactly who he is. So it's the same thing with the way the soul expresses itself. On one hand, those clothing, they express the soul, like the mind and the emotions. On the other hand, the thought, speech, and action, they're not part of the soul. They're just clothing. They're not necessarily expressing the soul. Okay, there's the soul inside, and then there's the way you express it. So it's not necessarily expressing it. Sometimes we can think, we can speak, and we can act differently than how we feel and how we think, right? Because it's clothing. We can also remove or change the way we express ourselves. Okay, for example, we can remove the clothes of action. How do we remove our clothes of action? By holding back from acting, right? We can remove also our clothing of speech by staying quiet. I'm quiet, I don't have clothing of speech. Also, if we have a clothing of thought, we can change it. We can change what we think about. We can think about something else, and then we changed our clothing of thought. Okay, that's why they're called clothing. Okay, and that will actually help us later to understand what's easier to control. It's much easier to control our clothes than to control who we actually are inside, to control our emotions, right? To control our emotions it's like inside of me. How can I really control it? But my clothes, okay, I can put on different clothes, I can remove them, I can change them, you know?
Right.
So that will help us later when we figure out how to handle everything. Right now, we're just looking at the map of how we're created, but then we'll see how to handle all these challenges. So with this clothing, again, ze leumat ze, like we have opposites, okay? The same way So there's the godly soul and there's the animal soul. Okay, and we're going to see that they express themselves differently. Okay, so with the godly soul, how does the thought express the godly soul? He's learning Torah. He's praying. He's praying with a lot of kavana, which means he's thinking a lot about what he's saying. Okay, he's thinking about God when he's praying. He's thinking while he's praying about what he should be thinking about. Also, the godly soul, when he's speaking words of Torah. He's speaking words of prayer. He's talking to God. It's all about God. And when he's acting, all the godly soul does is mitzvot. He wants to connect to Hashem. He's going to only act and do mitzvot. Okay. Now, any other action, it doesn't matter what it is. If it's not a godly soul, if it's not expressing the godly soul, then it's not what Hashem wants. He's doing regular stuff. Okay. Neutral, animal soul. So now the animal soul also has the three clothing. It also has those garments. But the animal soul, it's only about myself. It's only about my survival, right? That's why the expression tools also, the thought, speech, and action, it's about all I'm going to talk about, all I'm going to think about, all I'm going to do is about enjoying myself, enjoying the world, enjoying food, enjoying trips, enjoying the physical world. Okay? Now, let me ask you a question. How much percent do you think that there's talking and action in the world that are from the animalistic soul? And how much percent of all this clothing do you think are from the godly soul? It's very simple. What's more? What is there more of?
The animalistic one.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Obviously,
they are
the majority of what's happening around us and the majority of what we talk about and do and think about is coming from the animal soul. The majority is the animal soul because it's all connected to survival, to having success in our lives. Most of our life is not about holiness, you know? So that's what the animal soul is. It's really like it's taking a very big place. So we're going to look at the Tanya. We're going to see how the Tanya, he takes those three clothing, okay, and he's putting it on the animal soul. And he's going to take a sentence from King Shlomo that we spoke about earlier, the wisest person. And you'll see what he says about all the actions of the world. They're nothing. Most of the world, most of what's happening in the world, the eating, drinking, working, whatever, all that, akol hevel v'reut ruach. Let me show it to you. Hevel avalim. He says, okay, I'll show you different sentences. Akol hevel v'reut ruach. Let me show it to you in the Tanya now.
But if Kohelet is Shlomo HaMelech, so Hevel Avalim Amar Kohelet.
Yeah. He also said that. And he said that about what?
About everything in the world.
Exactly. Wait, I need to share. 1 second.
Can I add something?
Okay, yes. Yes, go
I'll
ahead.
leave it for the end.
Okay. Okay, so here are the 10 unclean categories. Unclean is not even a nice thing. It's tmeot, it's impure, okay? The 10 impure categories. When a person thinks, thoughts originating from them, from the impure place, okay, from the animal soul, when he thinks of ways of obtaining something he desires, or speaks words originating from them, or does an act which serves or expresses them, then the thought in his brain, the words in his mouth, and the power of action in his hands and other organs are called impure garments. Levushei mesa'avu, impure. For these 10 unclean categories, which clothe themselves in these garments during the act, speech, or thought. Okay, so he's describing this animal soul situation. Now he says, these garments of the animal soul comprise all the deeds that are done under the sun, and all the deeds that are in the world that are not godly, all the mundane actions. What are they? He's quoting the words of the Shlomo HaMelech, which are all vanity and affliction of the spirit. Akol hevel ureut ruach. As the Zohar interprets this, a ruination of the spirit of holiness. Okay, it's taking away the spirit of holiness. Similarly, all words and all thoughts that are not directed to God and to his will and his service are all garments for the animal soul. For this is the meaning of the term sitra acha, literally the other side, not the side of holiness, which we'll talk about more next week. Okay.
Honey, I wanted
Yes.
to add one thing.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
You said before about matzpun, which is conscience. And really matzpun comes from the root of tzafun. It's hidden.
Yes.
So really, the good part of us is hidden inside. We have to just unreveal it.
So you're saying
That's
it's in
what
the
you call-
unconscious. It's inside the unconscious.
Yes.
That's a very good point. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Yes. Anyways, the godly soul is there. We just need to make it express more. That's the whole work. The Tanya will guide us how to do this work. Okay, so we finished this part of the Tanya for today. I'm going to summarize what we learned, and then we're going to take away a lesson. So we learned about the full contrast that's inside of ourselves. We have two souls. We have the godly soul that wants to do what Hashem wants, and we have the animal soul that's self-centered. And then there's the 10 powers, the 10 kochot, and there's the intellectual ones and the emotional ones. In the godly soul, those 10 powers serve Hashem's will. And the mind comes before, the intellectual comes first. But the animal soul, it's all about what do I want, what am I going to gain from it? It's all about the ego. All the 10 powers serve the ego, serve the me. And what comes first? The emotions. And we also spoke about the 3 garments, the thought, speech, and action. The godly soul is going to use them to do Torah and mitzvot. And the animal soul is going to use them for all the nothingness of the world. So there's a big challenge over here. We learned the full contrast that's inside of ourselves. We have 2 souls, okay? The 2 souls, we have the one that's attracted to Hashem, the one that's attracted to the self-centered. We have 10 powers of mind and emotion. By the godly soul, they do what Hashem wants, and the mind comes before the emotions. The animal soul, the mind and emotions, they serve the ego, and the emotional comes first. And then there's the 3 garments. The godly soul wants to do Torah mitzvot, and the animal soul that wants to do nothing, that does anything else in the world. So now this is going to bring us back to the story that we started off. There was a person that wanted to do tshuva, and he was sure everything will be like an angel who does mitzvot without any disturbance. And he was very happy to do good deeds and to find the truth without other thoughts. But he discovered that in reality, what takes over, it's so hard. There's so much physical things that are disturbing us, right? There's Yetzer Hara that's bothering us, and it's very hard to just do pure and holy things like he wanted. So he came to the rabbi, and he asked him the $1 million question. Why didn't Hashem create us like angels? Why did Hashem create bad in the world? So the rabbi chose to answer with a question. He asked him, what's your hobby? The man says, my hobby is to paint. I really like art. He says, what type of art do you like? What pictures do you like? What images? He says, the nicest painting I like is from Picasso. It has people standing with a background of a sunset. And he tells him, how much does this painting cost? And the man doesn't know where the rabbi is going. He says, listen, that painting costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. The rabbi asks him, 1 second, if somebody just goes and takes a picture of people by a sunset, how much will that cost, that picture? The man says, oh, that's just a few dollars. The rabbi is like, what? The same image, like a picture is just a few dollars, and a painting costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's the same thing. It's almost the same. And not just that, the picture is more detailed than the painting. The picture is exact. The painting is not perfect. Why would it cost so much more money? So the man can't hold himself back. It's like, come on, you can't compare. The picture is like automatic. You just snap. The painter, the painter puts himself into it. He puts his whole soul. He's investing in it. There's like a huge investment. He puts his whole soul in the painting. It's not automatic like a picture. And the rabbi says, listen, this is the same thing. The angels are like the picture. They behave like everything is automatic. Everything is perfect. There's no contrast. There's nothing against them. There's no conflict, okay? There's no Yetzer Tov, Yetzer Hara. It's just like angels. And they behave exactly how Hashem tells them from above. Exactly what they're supposed to do, they do. You snap a picture, it takes the picture that you took. And the man, us, we're like in the painting. Nothing comes automatically. we need to invest a lot, and there's an internal war, and sometimes the painting comes out less detailed than the picture, but it's worth so much more, right? Just like the painting is worth so much more because there's so much investment. All our work, when there's a conflict, even if it's not perfect, it's worth so much more. And that's the lesson we want to take from today. That Hashem created the world, he designed it. He designed it that there should be two opposites. He designed it with putting inside of us two opposites, two forces that are pulling us in two opposite directions. And even in the world, he created a lot of opposites. Everywhere is opposites. Hashem didn't do that to break us or to fail us. Hashem gave us a challenge because he wants that every action that we do, everything we do, we're putting so much effort in it. And that's going to take us to a higher place. That's going to be worth so much more money. It's going to be worth so much more money, like in the painting, but it's going to be worth so much more. So that's the reason, if we can say it that way, for having this animal soul contradicting our godly soul. Now, today we learned all about the contrast inside of ourselves. Next class, the second part of chapter 6, we're going to talk about the contrast in the world, the way Hashem created the world with contradicting things inside of it.
Thank you, Hani. It was a great class.